Welcome to For Marketing Fridays, 20 minutes where I give you some actionable advice that you can use today because we all need to work smarter, not harder. And this 20 minutes we're going to spend together is designed to help you do just that. There's no fluff, there's no hustle bro advice. I'm not going to pitch you on buying a course or buying a paid community. I'm just giving you advice that you can start using today. So today we are going to talk about talking to your customers. Sounds a little bit meta, but let's talk about it. Especially when you don't want to, or you're feeling some kind of friction or feeling some kind of way about getting vulnerable and actually talking to your customers. Everybody says, you should talk to your customers, but what are you supposed to do? How do you do that? And then once you do get in front of them, what do you even say? So today I'm going to walk you through a bunch of different ways to talk to your customers. Some require some investment and some time and include information and source material that you already have, and some you can go grab fresh from your files. Let's start. Let's get going. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to give you 4 big themes or types of data or comments that you're going to want to be looking for from your customers. We will go through different methods to get this big theme data. And yes, some don't require talking to anybody at all, don't require phone calls, Zoom calls, nothing like that. We'll talk about the different types of customers to avoid, because as much as you should talk to your customers, there are also people you should not talk to. And then I'm going to send you home with 3 questions that will give you more actionable insights than you can shake a stick at, and that most companies gather in an entire year. So here's the real problem. Most companies are flying completely blind, and they're making decisions based off of assumptions and guesses, instead of leaning on their customers to guide their decisions and their planning. This is especially true as we're staring Q4 kind of right in the face right now. So instead of using data from customers, they're making marketing and go-to-market assumptions based off of internal opinions or assumptions about what you think you know your customers want. They're guessing based on what their competitors are doing or their competition is doing. Or worse, they're pulling what worked for them at their last job and they're pulling that forward, thinking that it's more of a copy and paste scenario, when it's not at all. So meanwhile, your actual customers have that roadmap to give you better messaging, clearer positioning, active channel selection, and it's sitting right there in their heads. You just need to figure out how to get these insights out and then work them into your business. Here's what happens when you don't talk to your customers. There's a big opportunity cost that comes with avoiding this effort. You are missing out on qualitative data that makes every decision stronger and faster. And without customer insights, you end up with messaging that sounds like every other company in your segment and leads to zero differentiation whatsoever. You also wind up with positioning, again, that doesn't differentiate. It creates this more of the sea of same where everybody's more in this copy me, copy them type scenario. And you all wind up with logos of pink and purple that are ombre in nature, and you wind up using the same messaging in your hero sections, and your customers have no idea what you do that's different or better or special. But I know there's a better way, and I'm going to show you a better way, and it's not as risky as some of the pushback you might be hearing internally would lead you to believe it is. Once you decide that you want to figure out what's going on in your customers' minds and how they make decisions, that's the first step. But then there's this weird, almost universal fear or friction around contacting customers. And I get it. I have fought this battle back when I was a W-2 employee. And even today with different leadership teams, it's still kind of an argument that happens a lot. Because you don't want to bother your customers. You're worried about damaging the relationship or coming across as pushy. You think that they're too busy or they're just not going to want to help. And nobody likes hearing no. And then you might not have a structured way to talk to your customers so that you can spend time together in a way that gets the answers that you need to your questions and honors both of the time that you're spending. And then your leadership might also be a little squeamish about the whole idea. And then they say absolutely do not contact our customers. No, that's a no-go. So in the past, I've gone toe-to-toe with a chief revenue officer who was super protective of their customers and absolutely refused to let me do customer interviews. So I had to find different ways to get that information and the insights so that I could prove that I knew what I was talking about and give him enough data to prove that what I was doing had some real value. And then it was only at that point when I was able to show him the results of what we could possibly get with customer interviews that he let me directly contact customers for interviews. So sometimes there is a way to do that, but there is some friction sometimes. But here's what I want you to know after 20 years of doing this work. Your best customers want to talk about why they chose you. They're proud of their decision and they want you to succeed because it validates their choice and makes them look smart. And I promise you are not hassling your customers, even though it feels like it. Your customers already took a risk from buying from you. And asking them to spend even 15 minutes explaining or walking through that decision and the emotions that they had to process in order to get to that decision, it's not a burden. It's actually a compliment to ask them. But if we haven't met before, my name's Sunny Hunt. I'm the Chief Customer Nerd here at Hunt Interaction. And we help companies grow their customer bases in smarter and more efficient ways, starting with their most profitable customers. And my work typically lives like at the intersection of customer research, strategic customer growth, revenue acceleration. And I've worked with all of these companies and a whole bunch more in over 15 different industries. And all other growth challenges tend to be fairly similar. It's just the methods of actually doing that work that tends to vary a little bit. If you know anything about, before you jump in, I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice to talk about talking to your customers. And this is more of a mindset shift than anything else. The first thing I want you to think about is stop treating this customer research or these customer conversations like a science experiment. This isn't a cold and unfeeling, like lab-bound exercise. You have to engage your curiosity. And if you truly don't like humans and don't like talking to people, this is probably not the right task for you. You should also start treating talking to your customers like a conversation. You're having a chat, you're having a conversation. It's not an interrogation. Customers prove that they believe in your product or they wouldn't have bought in the first place. You're not looking to get some groundbreaking confession out of somebody who's holding secrets close to the vest, right? You're having a conversation. And also, you should honor your customers' time and treat them like an expert because they are the expert in their own experience. So if you do these 3 things, everything is going to be a lot easier. This process is going to go a lot smoother and a lot faster. Let's talk about the different ways to talk to your customers. When you think about talking to your customers, customer interviews are the gold standard. That's it. They are flexible. You can dig deeper into different questions when something interesting pops up. You get emotion and nuance and details that you can't get anywhere else. And when you want voice of customer data to improve your messaging, this is where you start. But the downside of customer interviews is that they're high level of effort between the outreach and the scheduling and the time to do the interview and then parsing the transcripts afterwards. But the insights make the effort worth it. If you can do these, you should do these. Customer surveys are scalable and systematic. You can get quantifiable results fairly quickly. They are easy to analyze for patterns, but the trade-off is that it's harder to cut through the noise to get people to respond. Sometimes you have to use incentives you didn't think that you would have to, like a gift card or a discount or some other type of carrot in order to get attention and get people to respond. And you have to think through the follow-ups and work those into your survey structure in advance. So you might miss the opportunity to ask follow-up questions to interesting responses that you get. And the time required to parse data in your open response questions is a little bit of a lift. Not as much as an interview, but there is some lift there. So surveys are great they're not really set and forget if you want to get any kind of meaningful qualitative data out of the effort because you need to have those open-ended responses. Sales call transcripts and win-loss surveys. This is kind of like a 2-for-1. They're 2 different things, but I'm kind of smushing them together in the interest of time. So these show you real conversations and real objections from customers and prospects. They show you what actually closes deals, not just what you think closes deals. And you're going to be able to spot repeated patterns across prospects, especially when you look at enough of these. And the beauty of these conversations is that they're already happening. There's no extra effort required. You don't have to talk to anybody. You just need to consistently record these conversations or use a tool that does it automatically for you, like Gong. And the best thing about these is that it doesn't, again, require anybody to talk to anybody else. There's no scheduling anything. And these are probably already resources that you have available to you. You just need to pull them from the clutches of your sales team who might be a little protective of them. And just as a quick note, you're going to only want to focus on the conversations that closed or your wins. You're not going to want to focus on the people who have left or decided not to buy. You want to focus on the people who paid you money because you're not working to recover lost sales unless this effort is specifically designed and only designed to understand why people did not close. But even then, I would argue that you should still focus on the wins instead of the losses. Then support tickets. If you have a technical product, if you have a customer support team, if you have a social customer support team, this is another goldmine for you. They show you unfiltered customer problems in real time. They show you the messaging and understanding gaps, especially if customers keep asking the same questions over and over again. It means your marketing isn't clear enough and your online support mechanisms, they're not supportive enough. And they also reveal product pain points that you may not even know existed. So it's a great source for that as well. These are also an ongoing stream of data, but you need to analyze these tickets over time for patterns that pop up and changes in those patterns, not just individual tickets. But overall, another really great option if you don't want to talk to anybody, and this is a resource you probably already have available to you. You just have to go and dig for them. And then we have online sentiment tracking or mentions. This is typically organic, unprompted feedback, usually in social media channels. People will share real world use cases that you may not even thought of. Like, we're using this product in this way to do this one thing. They're like, oh, we didn't even know that was possible. So now you have a completely new target to go after. It's amazing. But this is also, you get a broader market view, and it's not just your customer base. So that might be useful, but it could also be more of a hindrance and kind of a distraction as well. This is time intensive to monitor consistently. And it can be a little expensive if you need to buy a tool or monitor mentions. So it can be expensive by buying a tool or expensive in time by continuing to monitor on a manual basis. And a lot of the data can be noisy and sometimes irrelevant to what you actually need. It's sometimes hard to filter out the customers from the people who haven't bought as well, and tying those back to individual accounts. It's possible, and it's getting easier all the time with new advanced tools that are coming out, but it can be a little bit of a challenge. Just go into that being aware of this. Again, a resource you might already have available to you that doesn't require talking to a customer. And then review mining. This is another option, especially if you're a startup who doesn't have any customers yet. This is great. You can either review websites who are capturing reviews in blogs and posts and articles, or like specific websites like G2. This gets you honest opinions, both good and bad. So you kind of have to steel yourself and kind of put your emotions away for a minute. And you can't have any big feelings that pop up when you get a negative review. It's a competitive intelligence goldmine, especially if you analyze competitor reviews, or if you don't have any customers and you're looking at your competitors to see what they're saying. That can be really great. And it's only from review-prone customers. So typically what we see is your customers kind of live on a continuum, and you have the 20% at the top that really absolutely love you to pieces. And then you have the 20% at the bottom, or the negative sentiment, who absolutely hate you and want you to die in a fire. Like, those are the two groups who tend to leave reviews the most. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. And it may not represent your full customer base or even specific targeted segments that you're looking for. So you also have to kind of keep that in mind and have your filters up. A typical thing that I like to do in review mining is I eliminate any 5-star reviews and any 1-star reviews and kind of focus on the center. It helps kind of give you more of a balanced view. Again, this is just another option that doesn't require talking to customers. It's not a big level of effort or even special tools, but this can be a slippery slope if you get too focused on comparing what your product or service does to what your competitors' reviews are actually looking at. It's easy to kind of like muddy the waters and get really distracted and fall down that competitive analysis rabbit hole. So just be careful. And one note about using AI summaries from either customer interviews or sales call transcripts. So that's things like Zoom Companion or Gong topics and summaries. Like, don't do it. Just don't use those at all. It's really tempting because you're like, oh, it's a really great, concise summary of what happened. No. You're going to miss out on a lot of detail. These AI summaries, they cut out all of the nuance. They cut out all of the emotions. And when you do a review of the original transcript, it can give you more insight into the different roles of your buying committee. So this is a screenshot from a customer interview transcript I did for a client a little while ago. And we got a ton of great nuggets of insights. And we saw big trends in the specific words and phrases that were used and recognized. And as a bonus, something that we wouldn't have caught if we'd used the summary is that we recognize that engineers and managers require very different messaging in order for this product to be compelling and to make the sales argument that this was the right fit for their organization. That's something that we would have completely missed if we had leaned on just a summary. So those are the methods that you can use. But like, what are you looking for? What is that content in those transcripts and in those reviews? Like, what is the thing that you need to look for most? So just like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, I always look for the corner pieces first so that you can kind of get a frame of reference. And these are the four themes. These are the four themes that I'm going to talk about. These are the corner pieces for me, especially when you're pressed for time, you don't have a lot of available resources, you need to focus. These are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. First one, so here's what I look for when you're combing through like survey data or reading sales call transcripts or even review mining. And you might not find all of these in one particular interview or one review or one support ticket unless you have specifically built them into things like surveys in your interviews. But you're going to find a couple of these pieces, and if you find enough of them, you can actually create those patterns. So first, look for your competitive differentiators. What make customers choose you over competitors or the status quo, which is not choosing anything at all and sticking with what you have? Second, what are the purchase objections and concerns that they mention? What almost stopped them from buying? And third, what are those desired outcomes and perceived value? What is the problem that they were really trying to solve? And how does their life look different now that they've used your product? And then fourth, referral likelihood and advocacy. Have they referred you and what did they say? And related side note, humans are great about talking what we did in the past, but we're absolute garbage at predicting about what we're going to do in the future. That's why we're still paying for that gym membership now in September that we bought at the end of December last year, like best intentions, like never realized. That's why you want to look at past behavior and what people have done versus what they think they will do. Let me break these four things down just a little bit more so that you have some concrete examples of really what to look for. Competitive differentiators. The question that you're trying to answer is what made you choose us over a competitive option? You're looking for any kind of competitive name mention and even their features and the value that they provide. Those are worthy of noting and capturing, not just the competitor name, but what made your product different than that competitor. And also the previous solution that they were using. This can be its own separate question if you're doing like a customer interview, but any mention of what they were using previously. And it's not just what they were comparing against during this particular purchase cycle, but that could be used as a competitive differentiator, but in general as well. Objections to purchase, right? For purchase objections, you want their biggest worry to come to the surface, asking them like, what was your biggest worry? So that's the answer. This is the question that you're looking to answer in all of that content and those reviews and those support tickets. What questions did their team ask during their purchase process? This tells you what your sales materials need to address to proactively start and advance that conversation closer to a deal once they actually start talking to you. And then what would have made the decision to say yes easier or faster? That's your sales process and your messaging improvement roadmap, like right there. For your desired outcomes, you need to know what problem they were really trying to solve. We were struggling with keeping everything organized, or we couldn't all comment on the same document at the same time. Like those are concrete problems you're trying to solve. Not the surface problem, but like the real problem. So was it collaboration and time saving? That would be an issue that you want to understand. And then how do they know that whatever the solution is working for them? How do they know? Do they have proof that it's working? Do they feel better about it? Feelings are totally valid in this case, right? Count those. And then what can they do now that they couldn't do before using your product or solution? This tells you how to position your value for prospective customers moving forward. And referral. This is that fourth big bucket. This is all about satisfaction and free advertising. It's really powerful, and it's sometimes hard to find in review mining or even sales call transcripts, but it should absolutely intentionally be built into any kind of a survey or a customer interview. So this comes into flavor of two questions. Number one, have you referred us? Talking about, again, our past behavior or what we have done. And then the second follow-up question is, what did you say about us when you talked about us to somebody else? Asking, what did you say about us, allows customers to tell you in their own words what they value most about your product or solution, what they like the most, and probably how your product is making their lives better. It's a nice round summary that's just jam-packed with these value statements. And again, when you're looking for answers to these questions, it can be a manual process of reading and rereading. I will literally highlight the answers to these questions and then make comments or notes like in a Google Doc, and using those as a tape flag so I can quickly find those. It does take time and a little bit of skill to build up and so that you can identify the answers to these questions quickly, but it's worth it. You get really fast at it after a while, especially when those answers to that one question are broken up into multiple places into a transcript. Now we need to talk about the sneaky traps that pop up when we talk about talking to your customers. These are the types of customers you do not want to talk to who don't add value to the overall conversation. And though your leadership is probably going to insist in some way, shape, or form that you include these folks in whatever it is that you're doing. These are the groups of customers I would actively avoid including in your Insight project. Or if you're forced to include them, make sure that you tag them in some way so that you can segment them out, you can compare and contrast and eliminate them once you've disqualified them as being relevant. Number one, your prospects. These people haven't bought from you. They have not paid anything. They have no vested interest in seeing you win. This is also known as your audience. Low value customers. Those people on the free or bare bones tier who don't buy regularly or only buy with a discount, these are not your most valuable customer. And unless you have a specific mandate to focus directly on them, I would exclude them. And also churned customers or customers who have left. Knowing why they left or why they canceled is one thing. Spending a lot of time digging into those reasons is completely something else. And I used to think that you could get good insights from these types of customers, but it's really not worth the hassle trying to talk with them. And even if you do happen to schedule a call with them, odds are good that they're probably going to be pissed and it's going to make everyone's day bad. So just avoid these three groups altogether. You have better ways to spend your time. So this is your 3-question starter kit. You can expand on these, add more detail. You can add different questions, follow-up questions. But if you want valuable customer insights, these are the 3 questions. Okay, it's actually like 4. But you have to ask these. Number 1, why did you choose us? This leans into your competitive differentiators, your offers, and the strength of those offers. And it introduces into talking about why they're switching or really kind of digging into those switching costs. And then what almost made you not choose us? This is about those objections that you have to overcome with your message and your positioning, your sales process. And then the third, kind of 4th question is, have you referred us? And what did you say? This lends itself again to value. What value did you provide your customers? If you can explain your value that your product gives your customers to your prospects, if you can take what they said and give it to your prospects, the odds of increasing your conversion or your close rate are so much higher. And then you have to give customers room and encouragement to answer all of these questions. Don't press them for time. Don't be really constrictive with that. Give them the room to run and talk as long as they want. If you have a survey, use open-ended question formats in order to get them to talk. If you have an interview, nodding along and listening to what they're responding with and maybe following up with, that's interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And then with support tickets, sales call transcripts, or even reviews, looking for the answer to these specific questions and knowing that the answer, again, may be broken up into different pieces. So these 3 questions cover those 4 big themes that I talked about in kind of a nice, compact form. So if you're listening to me ramble and you took absolutely nothing away because you're like, oh my God, she just talks so much, here's the things that I want you to take away from today's session. Your customers, not ChatGPT, not your competition, not some industry data, is the source for building a competitive moat. No one else has your customers. But you have to talk to them and you have to collect specific insights from them if you want to make your messaging better, if you want to solidify your channel selection and improve your product roadmap. And you can't be shy when it comes to talking to your customers. There are lots of different ways to get insights from your customers. And it doesn't take a 6-month project to get insights that can help you today. You probably already have some of these insights and some of this data. You just have to do a little work to pull them out and make them usable. And every customer isn't the same. You have to be picky and selective about the customers you pull insights from. You don't want to talk to people who haven't given you money, or who only buy on discounts, or customers who are left and pissed off and are throwing the finger over their shoulder as they walk away. And you are not hassling your customers when you ask them for an interview or you ask them to take a survey. And it's not spying on them if you look at their sales call transcripts. Your customers want you to succeed because that means they were right and they made a good choice, and that makes them feel good. So don't be afraid to talk to your customers. They're literally a gold mine of information and data that's just waiting for you to mine. So that is all the time we have today. I went a little bit over. Thanks for spending time with me today. I hope I armed you with information you need to talk to your customers in a way that makes you a little more confident or a little more curious. Thanks for spending time with me this week on Free Marketing Fridays. I will see you next Friday.